It's getting to the point where I'm no fun anymore. Hey, music fans, and welcome back to Soundlab Studios. Today we are going to be reviewing the debut album 1969 of CSN. And Jason, I know you're a big fan of this album. This was brought to us by Jason. Jason, would you like to give a little background information about why you love this album?
First, I heard about Crosby, Stiils and Nash when I was probably a teenager. And I think I was introduced to them when I was watching VH1's Top 100 Songs or something like that. They used to do back in the day. And Sweet Judy Blue Eyes was on there pretty high up on the list. And I was like, what's Sweet Judy Blue Eyes? And my dad was like, oh, it's a great song. You got to hear it. And when I heard that song, I mean, it blew my mind and opened me up to one of my favorite bands or groups of all time. Crosby, Stiles and Nash / and Young, whatever you want to call it. Definitely is one of my favorite groups of all time. They're way up there, probably top 5, And it's just really the harmonies are just out of this world, amazing.
Yeah.
And you got like in this, you got 3 absolutely amazing singer-songwriters come together. To me, this is like the first great super group. I would say. I don't know. You would say you put Cream in there, maybe. I don't know if there's anybody before this that really. You have 3 members of 3 different Hall of Fame bands. I mean, 3 bands are in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame: the Byrds, the Hollies, and Buffalo Springfield. And Stiils, Stephen Stiils, Dave Crosby, and Graham Nash come together. And if I can give a little bit of backstory, because I've read a lot about them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Dave Crosby, part of the Byrds, he kind of got kicked out because he was not the best band member. He was late to a lot of rehearsals, I think, and even during there was a big concert, and he actually went and played for, I think, maybe Buffalo or Springfield or something, and it made the rest of the band mad, so they just kicked him out. And Dave Crosby was like the guy in California that to go to. He kind of knew everybody, and he was kind of the drug guy. I felt like if you needed drugs,
there's the rub.
Yep. Yeah, it's like if you needed drugs, you go to Crosby. Like he knew how to hook you up with drugs. Anyway, so he was very well known, and he didn't have a band at the time. And then Buffalo Springfield kind of broke up too around that time, and so Stiils didn't have a band. And them 2 became friends, and they were hanging out, doing drugs. And also Joni Mitchell, they were friends with as well, was hanging out with them. Graham Nash was part of the Hollies. Hollies were still a strong band at this time. I mean, you're talking about 1968.
Arguably at the top of their career.
I mean, yeah. You want me to tell you what about Graham Nash, though, is Graham Nash was trying to get them to do Uncharted Territory with like Butterfly and Evolution, and then he wanted to do some more things. Like he wrote a song called Marrakesh Express, which is on the album, and he tried playing it with the Hollies, but they didn't do it. And the Hollies wanted to do an album full of Dylan covers, and he was like, I can't do that. So he ended up putting the Hollies afterwards.
The Hollies, it is a win-win situation. The Hollies release Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Nash joins Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Everyone's happy in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. Nash, quitting the band, and like I said, they're still a strong band, putting out really hit singles, and but he wanted something more. I think, like Nick said, I think he wanted to push the songwriting and what the band was doing, but the band was okay with just making like pop hits, I think. And he got to know Stiils and Crosby and Joni Mitchell He went to the United States and kind of met them and hang out. And he fell in love with the United States. One of the crazy things is he would leave England and just become an American, basically, because he was from England. And he just fell in love with the United States. He fell in love with Joni Mitchell. They dated for a while. And so he was just hanging out with Crosby and Stiils and Joni Mitchell, and they were rehearsing a song, or they were singing a song together. And Nash was just like, "Hey, let me try singing along with you guys." And they're like, "Okay, sure." And Nash he's my favorite singer out of the group because he can hit these really cool high notes, and he has just a great voice. And so they were singing, and Nash came in with this high, tenor voice, harmonizing with it, and they all kind of looked at each other like, "Well, we got something here." And so that's how they kind of formed the group together. And I mean, now we're talking like 1969. They're like, let's get in the studio and let's put something together. And all three of them took turns writing the songs, of course, which was nice to have three songwriters kind of take turns. And anyways, and so they come out with this album, and it was a huge album, did really well. And they did Woodstock. Woodstock was like their second gig all time.
Wow, if that's your second gig, then that's pretty big doings.
You know how big you are when that happens.
And they're probably my favorite part of Woodstock. I mean, at least one of them. I think the highlight of the Woodstock. Anyways, but yeah, they're just so amazing. They're amazing musicians, amazing songwriters, amazing singers together, and formed one of the great. And this is their debut album, and it is one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion. Absolutely, I love the album. I saw Crosby, Stills, and Nash back in 2005. They came to Wichita, Kansas, and I got to watch them, and they sing a lot of songs off this album.
Oh wow!
And still great back in 2005. I was still like amazed when I was listening to them. It was a real highlight for me to get to see them sing live, because they'll never sing again. Of course, Crosby passed away, and they're all getting to 80 years old, and they really haven't been together for a little while now, of course. So that's kind of the end of them right now. But I don't know if that's enough to say. Amazing album.
I think Alan Clark and Graham Nash did a reunion single not that long ago.
That's cool.
Like My Buddy's Back, I think it's the name of it. I really like it.
Yeah, I know for me, Graham Nash is kind of like the secret sauce of the Hollies. Like, he doesn't sing all the time, but when he does, like, it's like the icing on the cake, And my favorite Hollies albums are Evolution and Butterfly, called Dear Eloise, King Midas in Reverse here in the U.S. Yeah. But those two are their most experimental albums, and I think that's why they're my favorite, is because you got these great harmonies and like pop sounds, but then they're adding in experimentation as well. And I feel like they kind of lost that experimental element whenever Nash left.
Yeah, you listen to Distant Line, you weren't as crazy about it as
but he brought that over to this group, because Marrakesh Express, Pre-Road Downs, like some of these songs here are really experimental on this album. Anyway, that's the introduction. Let's go ahead and get into the track-by-track analysis of this album. We are going to start off with a really big one, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes.
The biggest one of them all.
That's definitely their biggest song. I remember when I was in sophomore, it was either sophomore or junior year of high school, someone would play like a bunch of rock hits, and this was one of them. Like the first time I ever heard this song, and I had no idea. I knew what Crosby, Stills, and Nash was at the time, but I never listened to any of their songs. And when I first heard a song, I what is this? I've never heard this before. This is really good. The harmonies are great. I like it, and I Shazammed it, and then I heard it. It was Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is Crosby, Stills, and Nash. This is, man, I can't believe it took me this long to figure who they are. Great song to open up a career for sure.
I mean, I've heard the name before, but I've never actually listened to them before. I had no idea what to expect going into this, and it was pretty good folk rock. For me, definitely the best song on the album, even though the album is pretty solid all the way through. But I like how it kind of changes. It's really peppy at first, and it kind of slows down a little bit, but it still has the cheery, happy nature throughout the whole song. But there's definitely different sections to the song.
Yeah, especially towards the end where it just throws you off. At the very end, they throw in some Spanish in there
Yeah.
because why not? And it's just like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like, it sounds good though. So yeah, I would say it's definitely their signature song. I would say, and it is also my favorite song on the album. So yeah, terrific song. It pretty much sums up the band in general, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy to start the album with your longest song and your biggest song. I almost feel like this would have been a better closer, but I guess it's a way to just start the album with a bang, I guess, where you're like,
Yeah.
I think
holy
it's
cow.
I think it's perfectly sequenced as it is. I like the closer
Okay.
as 49 Bye Byes because it's
Right.
kind of goes with. See, you got Hello by Oasis and 49 Bye Byes by CSN.
Yeah, in Graham Nash's book, I've read a little while ago, he talks about how like Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes was like the last song they kind of put together on the album. Like they were putting this album together and they're like, yeah, it's doing pretty good. But they're like, yeah, it just feels like it's missing a signature song. Like we don't quite have the hit song. And so they didn't quite have it. And then Stiils came into the studio one day and was like, I think I have the song. And they're like, okay. And Stephen Stills played the whole song on his acoustic guitar, just him and acoustic guitar, which I don't know what that would sound like just with Stills and the
Still
guitar.
amazing.
Yeah, he plays that whole song. And yeah, it's like one of those moments where it's like, I wish I was in that room hearing that for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that would be amazing. And they all were like, yeah, that's the song. Like this, I think it was kind of right away. They're like, yeah, this is the hit song. So I don't know. I think I always thought that was kind of cool. Like still just coming in and going, here it is. And man, he's an amazing guitar player. So I just imagine he's just killed it right there. And of course, Judy was like who was it? It was a famous singer.
Yeah, Judy Collins.
Yeah. Who he was dating. I think they were having some trouble, or they just broke up.
Yeah, they broke up during that time.
Yeah, so it was a song about her basically. But yeah, it's just amazing.
My thoughts on it though is this one song is better than I love the Bob Dylan cover album that the Hollies made, but this song is like better than anything on that album. like they both came out the same year. I'm like, wow, this is like better than anything that could be on that one Hollies album that they made with just Bob Dylan covers.
Speaking of Bob Dylan covers, the Byrds cover of "The Times They Are the Changing" is actually really good.
Their first album has two great Bob Dylan covers, three actually, but we're not talking about the Byrds. We're talking about
that was kind of a rabbit trail. I might edit that out. But moving on to our next song, Marrakesh Express.
Ooh, I love this song.
Yeah, this is another one of my favorites here.
This is my favorite song on the album. It starts off with a little mumble jumble.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of funny at first,
yeah.
And then it goes straight in with the guitar. And this is like I said in the beginning. This was like the song that Graham Nash really wanted the Hollies to get good at and get solid at. And there's two sides, kind of like the Fogerty's Revenge thing. There's two sides to Graham Nash leaving in this song, and Graham Nash's side is like they just outright refused to play the song, and they just didn't want to play it. The Holly side is that they were trying to play it, but it was like Maxwell Silver Hammer, where Graham Nash was like, no, next take, nope, not good. And it just got to the point where they're like, okay, we're done with this song. So
that's probably what happened.
Yeah, it's unlike the Beatles where they actually finished Maxwell Silverhammer. Like the Hollies were like, we're done with this song. We're done. We're done with you being picky with us. We're doing the Bob Dylan route. But again, besides that, it's a great track. Great vocal by Graham Nash. I'm gonna make it no secret. Him and Neil Young are when Neil Young does end up playing them for Deja Vu. They're the two like highlights of this super group. Besides that, they're not my favorite, but those two little elements make the big difference, for my opinion, especially Neil Young when we do get into that.
If this was originally a Holly song, it was destined to be on this album right here.
Yeah. I prefer Deja Vu over the first CSN album, but like I said, we'll get into that.
All
yeah,
right.
I agree. Very good song. I think it's Nash's best song on here, but yeah.
I just think it's the best song that they made.
I love
Yeah,
the. I don't know if that's an organ that's in there that I love throughout the song.
Mm.
yeah, and it's just very catchy too. Like it just has this very memorable melody, and that guitar tone is just so high. And like, what? How do they gain that guitar sound out of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just yeah, but yeah, it's really great song. Another one of my favorites here.
yeah. I love how Nash he sings kind of. It's almost like he's singing the verses, but then all three of them come together at certain parts, and it's just magical. Like they say, like the gold in your head.
Yeah.
I would have. Oh man, if the Hollies would have did that, oh man, it would have been
Oh,
perfect.
Hollies would have said too. Yeah,
Like Graham, Alan Clark and Tony Hicks with Graham Nash on that part. Like I said, he had a vision of how he wanted that song, but the Hollies just they weren't able to do it like Crosby and Stiils were able to do it. But it's a shame. That song would have been great. It would have been nice if they would have finished it before he would have left the Hollies, but whatever.
Right, our next song is Guinevere.
I'm going to be controversial here. This was actually one of my least favorite songs on the album. I mean, it was written by Crosby, and Crosby's kind of known for writing the very, very weird songs on the album.
yeah.
Because he's on this song, he's experimenting with alternate tunings that he learned from Joni Mitchell, which is pretty cool. It has this very interesting structure throughout. There's not really a chorus to it. It just has this very mellow tone throughout the whole song. And it's fine, but there wasn't really a whole lot that really grabbed me. So yeah, it wasn't one of my favorites.
My opinion on the song. Here's my opinion on it. A lot of people just say flat out that David Crosby just writes the weakest songs, even when he was on the Byrds. I disagree. I think he wrote the strongest songs for the Byrds, but for some odd reason, when his transition from the Byrds to Crosby, Stills, and Nash, it didn't for some reason it didn't click as much as I would I would have loved it to be, because the strongest Byrds member being on as a member, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, he's gonna be great. And when I saw that he wrote Guinevere, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But when I first heard it, I'm like, it's all right. I'm with the Bryer on this one. It's just an okay song. I don't hate it, but it's just not a song that it's definitely a letdown, especially after my favorite song by them.
I think it's
I think it's a great song. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful song. I love the acoustic guitar playing at the beginning, and then just the harmonies are just out of this world. I've seen videos of just Crosby and Nash, because they sing a lot together. They did a lot of duo. They did some albums together, and I've seen them do the song just them two, and it sounds just absolutely amazing. But I love the song.
I can see why you love it, though. It's not like a song where I'm like, oh, how can anyone?
Right.
This is like a song that I'm like, you know what? Because originally when I thought we weren't gonna be doing this album review, I'm like, you know what? It's good because I get time to get used to some songs that don't click, and this was the one song I was thinking of especially because it needs to grow on me for sure.
Yeah, it's a song I don't necessarily love, but I can respect it for the craft of it.
I'll put it the way Garrett says, it's a song that you listen to the first time that you're like, you know what, I'm not into it now, but maybe the next time or two I might get it.
There are definitely songs like that.
It's a good sign though when it's like but maybe next time. It's a bad time when you just flat out don't like the song. You're like, I'll never like the song.
Like for me, I feel it's a pretty solid song. It's just not like the most amazing thing I've ever heard, if that makes sense. Like it's a pretty good solid song. Works really well in the context of the album, like kind of bringing it back a bit after two really like upbeat songs. But I wouldn't say it's like my favorite on the album.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. All right.
You don't have to cry.
You don't have to cry.
I like the song. It's a pretty good song. Definitely, in my opinion, better than the last song. Still doesn't have that same strive as the first two songs we're having. Like it just has like that. It doesn't have like the first two songs has like a momentum feel, and then like the next two songs are just it brings it down. third, I'm not crazy about as much, but the fourth one, it's like nice in a way where I'm like, you know what? I could get into this. I actually really like it. Stephen Stills wrote this one.
Yeah, it's another great song. Yeah, these first four songs are just absolutely, I know, these are really good songs to start the album with. And again, the whole song is just harmonies. Like it's one of those songs where they just start with harmonies and it just doesn't change. Kind of, they just do the whole song that way. Sometimes they do a song where one person's kind of singing and then the other two come in during the chorus or something. But I mean, that first line, just, I love, in the morning when you write. I mean, it's just, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was kind of critical of the last one, I think the album comes back a little bit more for me because I really do enjoy the song. I just love the melody to it, and it's just very relaxing to it. And like Jason says, the harmony on this song is really good. And we haven't talked much about the lyrics, but I think the lyrics are pretty good as well. Stephen Stills is a pretty strong songwriter, I think.
Yeah.
It's about another kind of breakup song, kind of the perspective of a guy, just he's kind of not over the relationship, but the girl has kind of already moved on to other things, and he's kind of like, maybe more than a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a pretty strong. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a very, very strong song. I enjoyed it.
Good point.
I think it's a pretty good song. I will say though, I need to probably listen to this whole album some more times for it to really click with me. So I want to listen to it 1.5 times. I listened to it once, and then today I kind of skimmed through the tracks to remind myself of what they sounded like. And I liked everything I heard, but I definitely feel like if I listened to the album like 2 more times, maybe like I would like get the album more.
I'm with Garrett on that. He said it perfectly for me. I listened to it like one time more than he did, and I'm the same way. It's like an album that I have to listen to a bunch of times before I'm like, it clicks. Some albums I love the first listen. We're gonna be reviewing Ogden's Not Gone Flake. I'll tell you how I feel about that. That's like one of the rare times where I actually like it the first listen. This is like this could be like one of the don't be like, oh, he doesn't like it the first time.
I wouldn't be offended at that. The albums that you don't like the first time and you think maybe if I listen to it a few more times can sometimes be your favorite. Here are some of those albums, for example. Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Didn't like that the first time I heard it. Like 2 listens later, it's my second favorite or third favorite album of all time. Yeah. Asia by Steely Dan. And then there's like a bunch of other ones, but those 2 are kind of the big ones.
That was the rare instance too, where Asia I love the first listen actually, but yeah, like don't like same with people who grow up with CSN. Like don't be alarmed. I don't hate CSN. It's just like one of those albums where I want to love it the first time, but it's like an album that like it's gonna take time for me to like get used to it, the style that they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
But like even the weakest track on the album, I still think it's really good. Like much better than their second CSNY album, America Dream.
Yeah,
I have that CD.
Much better. I watched the video on that. I'm like, wow, this sounds garbage, but we'll get into that when we do.
Track 5, Pre-Road Downs.
I love this track. Like I said,
the most experimental track on the album.
This is my second favorite track on the album.
Wow.
I love Graham Nash, and like I said, him and like I said, Neil Young when he does join are like the 2 strongest members of the group. And as of right now, Graham Nash is the strongest member. He just brings a subtlety to their sound, and I love it a lot. It's just a great song, and I don't know if this was a song that maybe it wasn't told, but like I don't know if this was another song that he tried introducing to the Hollies that it didn't work out. But this is another song I could see like him like bringing it to the Hollies, and the Hollies being like, no, this isn't our thing. And I enjoy this track.
This is like the most 60s like weird experimental track on the album, and I think it's really cool with like a lot of the sound effects on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, of course, it has that reverse guitar song, so that tells you
Yeah.
it's 60s. So, but yeah, this is another good song I kind of liked. Again, it's probably not one of my top favorite songs on the album, but I still think it's pretty good, and I really love the bass playing on this one. And I think Steven Stills does the bass playing, and he's a pretty good player, I must say. I must say. So yeah, and lyrics are pretty straightforward. It's about, Graham Nash singing about life on the road when he was in the Hollies and stuff. But yeah, very strong song.
Yeah, I would say there's like 7 great songs and like 3 good songs on this album. I'd say this is a good song. It's not one of the greats, but yeah, it's still a solid song.
Mm-hmm. I could see why you don't think it's as strong, but it's like I can imagine like seeing like him working well, like how Crosby and Stills work so well with Graham, how like Butterfly or Evolution would have turned out if they would have been involved in that.
Oh wow.
Like
That would have been
if
cool.
they had their vocal harmonies with the hot like instead of like Alan Clark and Tony Hicks doing the vocal harmonies like they do like Dear Eloise or Have You Ever Loved Somebody, like how that would have been like
If you
like
would have had Stills playing guitar on Have You Ever Loved Somebody, that would have been amazing because that's my favorite Holly song. But my one complaint is I think it needs a little bit more like, because I like the guitar riff, but it needs like a solo over it at one point.
yeah,
And like if Stills was playing that solo.
That is missed on that album is a good guitar solo, but who knows? Who knows how that would have been if Graham Nash would have quit before Evolution? That would have been interesting.
All right. Hey, this next song is really good. This is one of the standouts on the album for me. Wooden Ships. Listening to this, it's just kind of like a slow ballad of like being out at sea, not having any food.
Yeah, it's a really good song.
Yeah, this was probably another one of my favorites here. So what's interesting about this one, you had more than one writer on this one. You have Crosby, you have Stills, but you also have Paul Kantner. Yeah, thank you. I can't read my handwriting, but
I think he's from Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, exactly. He's from Jefferson Airplane. So of course, this was written on David Crosby's boat, hence the name of the song. So, like Garrett said, kind of just being out in the sea. This was kind of around the time the threat of nuclear war was over everyone's heads. So it was kind of dictates the tone of the song, and I think it's a very good. This has that somber tone that I think does better than Guinevere, in my opinion, because it just fits the overall lyrics for me. It has a very cool guitar solo on this one. So yeah, this is definitely, like Garrett said, another standout song for me.
I like this song a lot, and I'll tell you one thing: this sailboat related song is much better than the one that ended up on Mardi Gras sung by
Sail Away. No.
That song, Lock the Door.
No. That album does not exist in my book.
I've forgotten about that album.
John Fogerty released a single with CCR called Someday Never Comes.
Never Comes.
Yep,
and that was the end of their career.
Yep, no B-side to it either. Just that song only.
The B-side was a live version of.
It was a live version of Susie Q.
Yeah. Or.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Boy.
Wooden Ships is one of my favorite songs on the album, and one of my favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash songs of all time. I put it up there pretty high. It's such a unique song I've never heard before. The there's like 2 people kind of talking to each other, and it's, I don't know, it's just really like it's just amazing songwriting, I think, or arranging or whatever. The whole say, can I have some of your purple berries? Yes, I've been eating them. Like the way they go back and forth is I just love it. And then the song.
I wonder what's in the purple berries.
What?
I wonder what the purple berries are supposed to represent.
Yeah, what I don't. Yeah. It's that beginning part, and then it's like, then it goes dun 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 dun. I don't know, and then it goes on, and it just changes. It's almost it's like Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. It just kind of has this epicness to it, where the song changes during, and then you get the great chorus, that wooden ships on the water. Just amazing chorus. When I saw them live back in 2005, this was definitely the highlight of the concert when they sang this song. When they sang it, it was like, oh man, they sound so good. And I'll say this about Steven Stills. That guy can play guitar. I didn't really know that much about Steven Stills before I saw him in concert. And when you see him in concert, when I saw him in concert, Steven Stills does like 3 guitar solos. Like almost every song, it's like they're singing, and all of a sudden, here comes Steven Stills with another guitar solo, and he's just just killing it on these guitar solos. And I remember watching, going, "Geez, Louise, like this guy can play." And I mean, he's to me one of my favorite guitar players. I don't know if that's an underrated. He's underrated in that sense,
Definitely
or not.
underrated. Not many people talk about him. Not like when
Okay.
people think guitar players, people think Hendrix, Jimmy Page. People don't go Steven Stills. You're definitely right. He's very underrated, and him and Tony Hicks from the Hollies, both extremely underrated guitarists that don't get the credit that they deserve. Really.
Yeah. Yes. I think Stills is probably out of the 3 of them. Stills is the most gifted musician. Out of the 3.
Yeah. Graham Nash is like the talented songwriter / person who brings the experimental stuff over, but Steven Stills is the man to if you want a guy to play guitar on your super group, Steven Stills is the guy you want.
And Crosby is the drunk uncle who just shows up to rehearsals.
Yeah.
It's like, let me provide my somewhat good backing vocals.
Let me harmonize. I can do that. Yeah.
That's like that. Like honestly though, that's a good way to sum up Nash. Like Stills, great guitarist, amazing guitarist. Graham Nash, great songwriter, brings experimental like uncharted territory to your band. Crosby, the guy who occasionally comes to the studios and gets drunk and maybe writes a song or two once in a while.
Hey, I can harmonize if you wanna.
Yep.
Yeah, like reading, like when I read a book on the group, and it was just like Steven Stills was really the heart of the group. I feel like, or he was really the engine that drove this group. Because, like I said, he was the best guitar player, and of course, then you had Neil Young, who was an amazing guitar player as well.
Yeah.
But Stills would do the piano, and he would do bass, and he would do like multiple instruments on these. This album, I think other ones, but he was the guy that would be up all night, mixing, I guess, or putting more, or he's like, oh, I'm gonna put some more of this in it, and the other 2 were off doing coke probably, and of course Stills did coke too, but Stills was like running all night. He was running all night just working on these songs. So to me, this is so good because of Steven Stills is like a musical genius in some senses to me. Where I just have so much respect for him as a musician and songwriter and all that. Yeah, it's funny when I read the book. It's just like they come into the studio and they're all just coked out of their minds. I mean, there's so much drugs going on. It just it blows my mind when I read it, and I'm just like, holy cow! How much can one? I don't know how David Crosby's still alive. That's one of the mysteries in life to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Drugs.
Ironically, in American Dream, that album that we're definitely going to be reviewing sometime with CSNY. Ironically, David Crosby songs are the best songs on that album. Ironically, for me, like Graham Nash's songs were horrible. Neil Young's songs are abysmal, especially the title track. I hate that song. It's like I don't like that song, and Steven Stills songs are horrible too. Everything besides David Crosby song, which those songs are bearable. Yeah, we're gonna get to that though eventually. I assume.
Okay, Lady of the Island. This song is amazing. Was this written by Graham Nash?
Yeah, it's messed up, but it's my 3rd favorite song on the album. All 3 Graham Nash songs, my first, each song gets progressed. Not as either 3 could go either way. Like all 3 songs that he wrote for the album could go either way. But as of right now, this is my 3rd favorite song on the album.
It's definitely one of my favorites too. It's just like
I love this song.
Really beautiful sounding song.
It's so good, and this is my 3rd favorite, and the first track would be my 4th favorite. But yeah, this is an incredible track. It's a great 1-2 punch, just like the first side with that 1-2 punch, and that's how I feel.
Most of my favorite stuff. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, I second what Nick just said. It's probably my 3rd favorite too. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. Nash's vocals on it is just absolutely spectacular on this track. And this was, again, it's funny, we were just talking about Steven Stiils a lot, but he's actually not on this track. It's just mainly just Nash and Crosby on this one. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's definitely, it's up there. One of my favorites on the album.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
This almost feels like a Nash solo song in a way, doesn't it? Or
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
The closest he had to a solo, well, he had 2 solo songs when he was with the Hollies, Fifi the Flea and Butterfly. Those are like his 2 like solo songs when he was with the Hollies, and this song comes really close to that, and that's probably why I like it so much, is because it reminds me of those 2 incredible.
This sounds like an Evolution outtake, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree.
It totally could have fit on that album.
Same with Pre-Road Downs, like that also could have been a song that could have squeezed in there, kind of like in either of those albums, either that or like For Certain Because or Stop 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 if you're in the US.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
I feel like most of my favorite songs are on the second side of this album, other than Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, of course, but all of my other favorite songs are on the second side, other than there's a few on the first side. Marrakesh Express is really good, Pre-Road Downs, but like my absolute favorites other than Sweet Judy Blue Eyes are on the second side, and this is definitely one of them. That and Wooden Ships.
Funny, my 3 favorites are just the Graham Nash songs. I feel bad for the other guys because their songs are great too, like Sweet Bluey, Judy
Sweet
Blue Eyes.
Bluey Judy Eyes.
My brain ain't working, but you get the idea. Besides, like, that song's incredible, but I think Graham Nash definitely has the best songs on this album. When we get to Deja Vu, trust me, Neil Young is gonna get his fair play of songs I'm gonna appreciate more than Graham Nash.
I was gonna say Graham Nash comes out with some really killer songs with Teach Your Children.
Oh,
and Our House.
yes, I think so.
2 amazing songs.
2 amazing songs, definitely. Like my top 5 songs on that album it's like a mix between Graham Nash and Neil Young.
Yeah.
It's a shame that they didn't make any more albums like Deja Vu afterwards. Like,
right, yeah.
When I listen to American Dream, I'm like, oh, this is I was really hoping for an 80s Deja Vu, but then when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Not as bad as Mardi Gras, but
we should do an episode that's just about terrible albums from great bands.
Great groups.
Yeah.
I got plenty of those.
American Dream is one of them. For
Summer
sure.
in Paradise by the Beach Boys.
Not that one.
Stay with the Hollies.
No, yeah, Stay with the Hollies.
I have that one.
I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, Mardi Gras.
Have that one. Hot Space.
Anything? Yeah,
I love
Hot Space.
Whatever.
Anything?
Yeah, I don't hate Hot Space. But
anything Chicago released in between 1978 and 1980.
Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. Not for me.
That's actually not a terrible album.
For me, Beatles for Sale would be that album. Like,
yeah,
I don't really like that.
Man,
album.
Trippy Hippie be having a heyday though. Those are his favorite albums.
Yeah. You'd be like, that's their worst. I think that's their best. Oh,
yeah,
I hate Deja Vu by Crosby, Stills, and Nash & Young. American Dream, that's my album.
By Creedence, Stills, and Nash. That's what he would probably call them too.
He gets it wrong every time.
Crosby, Clearwater Revival.
Imagine John Fogerty joining them, and it became that, like, oh my god. Oh man,
it's like
looking at that Greek River cover, and I'm thinking about that.
It's like Southern. It's like Southern rock with great harmonies.
Oh man, getting a good laugh out of this.
Born on the Blue-Eyed Bayou.
Proud Wooden Ships. Looking out my Marrakesh Express.
I'm trying to think of one really funny one. Cool, stop the Marrakesh Express.
Oh my god, that's a good one.
49 Sweet Hitchhikers.
Have you ever seen the Wooden Ships?
Have you ever seen them?
Sail away, Wooden Ships.
That'd be, yeah, that'd work.
Sung by their bassist. Freeze's bass player.
You don't have to
You know
cry
what's
over
funny?
my back door.
You know what's funny? I was talking to a Creed's Clearwater Revival fan, and I showed him Door to Door and Take It Like a Friend. He's like, he's trying to be like John Fogerty, but he's failing in every way. Like
Okay.
he's okay. Let's get back to
I'm
the
gonna take this
album.
little segment that we had where we talked about that. I'm gonna snip it out and make that its own video that's like a short or something and see how many views it gets because that was hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
a good idea.
was a good little fun we had.
Yeah.
Now, Helpless Hoping, the next track on the album. I love this track. It's my fifth favorite song on the album. Actually, I really enjoy it. That's how good it is.
Interesting. Because this is actually one of my least favorites on the album.
No,
Yeah, everyone takes music differently.
no.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. It's good. I didn't hate it.
Bryer.
I didn't hate it, but yeah, I didn't have much to say on it. It didn't speak to me on this one. So yeah.
Finally, me and Jason agreeing on a song for once.
I think it's good, but I need to listen to it again.
It's so great.
I'm with Jason actually. I enjoy Helpless Hoping.
Helpless dancer. Helplessly hoping dancer.
I just know so much songs that like I combine songs and stuff. It's funny when I do that. Sorry about that. We could do a blooper section too, like us mistaking song names.
Oh, this is if Sweet Judy Blue Eyes wasn't on this album, this would be my favorite song on the album. It is my second favorite Crosby, Stills, Nash song. It's in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I mean, I love this song so much. The harmonies, this is the greatest harmonies of all time. Like when I listen to the song, it's just like, angels singing in your ear. It's just it's just magnificent. Just right away, right from the very beginning. And the guitar, I love that guitar picking. It's one of my favorite acoustic guitar like picks or whatever that goes throughout the whole song. And I learned this song on the guitar and I can play it.
Oh wow!
And I love playing it because it's just so beautiful the way they do the picking. I loved it so much. I learned that, and yeah, I can't think of a better song with harmonies than this one. It's just it's not that long really, but man, I love it.
I agree.
Jason looked kind of like me whenever Nick said Sgt. Pepper was the Beatles' 8th best album. Whenever Bryer said he wasn't a big fan of this song.
Yeah, that's my moment right there.
That's his putting sticky fingers to at number 8 moment too.
Yeah.
I don't like I was re-listening to what's the album name that me and you agree wasn't as good as the rest. Exile on Main Street. I listened to it and I'm like, I still don't get it. I don't think I'll ever get.
It's too long.
That's I'll never get.
I think it's perfectly sized.
It's bloated and I just don't like it. There's some great songs on it, but that's
two good songs in my opinion. But then again,
I love every song.
Yeah, that album, and I forgot there's another that and there's just albums that are popular and everyone loves them. Like, I don't get it, and I might never get it. This is an album, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, that I'm like, I don't get it, but I will eventually get it. Exile on Main Street's an album that I don't get it, and I might never will get it.
I mean, to me, if this album had nothing else but Sweet Judy Blue Eyes and Helplessly Hoping, it'd still be one of my favorite albums. Like, those two songs are so good. I mean, they are some of the best songs ever for me, and that's what makes this album just over the top, from any other album. I mean, this is a top 5 album for me just because of those two songs.
For me, those two songs and the Graham Nash songs is what keep hooked on the album. With the Judy Blue Eyes and Helpless Hoping, even though they're not my favorite songs, the impact on those songs are just so good that if they're not on the album, I would still I would be like, not as good, even though they're not my 2 favorite songs on the album, if that makes any sense. like they're not my two favorite songs on the album, but they're like the most impactful for me on the album. Like when I do listen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean there's like 5 songs on this album that are on like their greatest hits, album. I mean that's how good the album is to me. Half their songs are on their greatest hits, and and these, like I said, like these two and Wooden Ships, and even Guinevere is on their greatest hits album. That's a really well.
I don't as of right now. I don't get why that song's on the greatest hits and not some other songs, but eventually I'll listen to it and I'll be like, yeah, I can see why this song is incredible. Maybe if we do an update review one day, like, hey, want to review Crosby, Stills, and Nash again, like, so that we all, like, all of us have listened to it again a bunch of times and we fully get it. I might be like, oh, this is my favorite song on the album now. But
I'm already thinking about doing like reviewing some of the albums I've already done on the channel, just kind of like revisiting them, like some of the older ones I've done.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like the ones that we haven't done with you.
Yeah.
As right now, we're like the Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Younger of reviews right now. Before with the ranking, it was like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but then we had Jason. He's like the Neil Young of the channel right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Join the band, and it's even better.
Yep.
Oh, well, thanks.
You're welcome. No problem. I'm glad you suggested this album because I would have never been listening to it as much as the one extra time I did. Because if we would have just did the review on the spot like the next day, I would have been like, Helplessly Hoping's good. I would have been a lot more brutal on it if I didn't get the heads up about it.
Yeah, Jason has been very influential on all of our musical tastes. I know, like I would have never listened to that Oasis album if he hadn't been talking about it so much. Because I used to be like, 90s are bad. Like anything out of the 90s was crap. But like I listened to that album and I'm like, this isn't just the greatest album of the 90s. Like this is like now one of my top 20 favorite albums of all time.
You listen to Houses of the Holy, and that's probably in your top 20 now, right?
Yeah, definitely. That might be my new favorite album of 1973. The Rain song, like that was a mind explosion moment whenever I heard that.
You know what album we should listen to in the 90s is two great albums, well, technically 3, but Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 by Guns N' Roses and Nevermind by Nirvana.
Okay.
That album.
Yes to Nirvana, no to Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Axl Rose kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I like Guns N' Roses, but yeah, listen to those 2 albums back to back. That's gonna take a while.
Yeah, fair enough. But Nirvana, Nevermind, though, have to.
I have listened to that album because I moved from the Oasis album on to like a friend suggested Third Eye Blind's first album. That was really good, and then I listened to the Nirvana album because that's like supposedly the best album of the 90s. That was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, it's definitely front loaded though. Like
Smells Like Teen Spirit was the best song on the album, even though it's like the first song on the album. Well, that and Something in the Way. I like Something in the Way as well.
I think In Bloom's my favorite song of Nirvana, and you know what? I think it might be in my top 100 best songs of all time, which that surprised me. I'm not usually into like punk / Nirvana style rock, but when I first heard that song, I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably another rabbit trail we've been chasing.
Another tangent, yeah.
Long time gone.
Jinx. Long time gone. Oh boy, this song is. I like it. It's my 6th favorite song on the album. I know it's weird that I'm doing that with a 7th favorite, but this is my 6th favorite song on the album. My 5 favorites are like solid, amazing, just great. From 6 onward, it's like 6 to 8, it's like good, great, and the 9 and 10 is like but yeah, this is a great song. I like it a lot, but definitely not as good as the other songs, especially after the last track, which me and Jason could agree are just it's just great rock and roll,
I think it's a good song. Again, another one I definitely need to revisit to get a full opinion on it.
Yeah, it's a really good song. To me, it's maybe the most it's the more rock song out of all the songs on here.
Yeah.
I'd say Crosby, Stills and Nash is kind of are a folk rock maybe group. I don't know.
Yeah.
And this has maybe almost kind of a bluesy maybe feel. I don't know, with electric guitar. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like this
really great guitar. This has the best guitar on the album, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the second song on the album that was fully written by David Crosby, and for me, it definitely shows. Like I could definitely hear it. I could definitely hear that it's his song that he wrote.
Mm.
Like I said, like when I was listening, like whoever loves David Crosby and is like a big David Crosby lover, who's about to like slam on their keyboards, about to write the most nastiest comments to me. Don't worry, I loved him with the Birds. He was my favorite writer of the Birds, as a matter of fact. Like I wouldn't like Mind Garden, I think it's the name of the one song, and the other song on Younger Than Yesterday, or whatever. And the one song from Fifth Dimension, that's another great song. When going into Crosby, Stills and Nash, I'm like, oh, he's probably have the strongest songs on the album. Him and Nash. I didn't expect Stills to have the best songs. I was expecting him to have the weaker songs, but I was wrong. Crosby definitely had the weakest songs on the album, and thankfully he just wrote 2 songs.
All right, 49 bye-byes.
I like it. Good way to end off the album. Probably my second least favorite song on the album, though. But
I like this song.
My least favorite would be Guinevere, and this would be my second least favorite.
My favorite thing about this song was that when I listened to it, I was watching it on YouTube, and the top comment that I think somebody pinned at the top is, "There's only 49 bye-byes, but 50 ways to leave your lover." Paul Simon reference.
Oh my god, that's good. That's good. I like that. Definitely deserve to be the top comment for sure.
Yeah.
I think this was a nice way to close out the album. It's kind of this very, again, it's another one of Stiils' more breakup songs, but it kind of has a more uplifting feel to it. It wasn't quite like the other ones, but
yeah.
And I really like there's like I think there's an organ on the song, and I think that was a really nice touch on this one. So yeah, I think this was a pleasant way to close it out.
All right. Sorry, Jason, did you have any more?
Not really. Again, yeah, it's a good song. It's not one of my favorites, I would say. But yeah, it's fine.
You said there was like 3 songs you said was just good.
I would say Pre-Road Downs, Lady of the Island, and 49 Bye-Byes were, to me, was just like the okay songs.
Oh, what, like Lady of the Island? Oh, well.
I like Lady of the Island too.
Top 5 and final score.
Those songs I just mentioned.
Yeah. Top 5 and final score. Who'd like to go first on their top 5? Nick.
I could go first. My number 5 would be Helpless Hoping. Number 4 would be Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. As I said in the review, those are great songs. I could definitely see why a lot of people like Jason would say those were the top 2 songs, but the next 3 could go either way. Actually, these 5 songs I ranked there could go either way. 3 would be Lady of the Island. Number 2 would be Pre-Road Downs, and my favorite is Marrakesh Express. And my score would be 8.75 out of 10.
Wow.
I think that's fair enough.
My top
score is
5,
definitely going to go up, though.
Yeah, because my score is definitely a pending score right now. Because if I listen to it more, it would probably go up. But for me, my top 5, 5, I got Marrakesh Express, 4, Pre-Road Downs, 3, Wooden Ships, 2, Lady of the Island, and number 1 is Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. And then my final score is, as of right now, and it's a pending score, but as of right now, it's an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it definitely has all the makings of a 10 out of 10 record, though.
Yeah, it's just something I need to listen to a little bit more to kind of understand it more.
Yes. Well, since we're
so I'll go next. So for my top 5, number 5 I have Wooden Ships. Number 4 is going to be Marrakesh Express. Number 3, just like Nick, Lady of the Island. And then number 2 was the song everyone thought was just okay, and that was Long Time Gone. That was the most rocking song. So of course, of course I would like that the most.
Yeah.
And then number one is going to be Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. And for a rating, I'm kind of on the same page with Garrett. It is kind of a pending score because I feel like the more I do hear this album, is going to probably go up more. So I'm going to mirror Garrett. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, for me, number 5 is Guinevere. I love that song. I don't know. I'm the only one that's really high on that one, but yeah, it's one of my favorites on the album. Number 4, Marrakesh Express. Yeah, really great song. Number 3, Wooden Ships. Amazing. 2, as you know, is Helplessly Hoping, one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. And then 1, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. Absolutely, yeah, top tier song. Like I say, I put it up there with Bohemian Rhapsody and Stairway from Heaven is one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. And it's an easy 10 out of 10. I mean, it's one of the, like I said, it's in my top 5 favorite albums of all time. I just nobody does harmonies like these three, and I love groups that do harmonies. So it's like, Beach Boys, Simon Garfunkel, you put in that list, Beatles. I just love it. All these are great. Yeah.
Credence.
Credence too. You know what too is in this album, it's not shoved in your face like that than like in CSMY American Dream. That album, it crams it right in your face. Like here's our harmonies in your face. But like this album, it's like here's great music, but with little harmonies and some nice harmonies in the background.
You know what? I think what I like about this album, and that it is going to get better with time, it gives it space to grow on you, and I just haven't allowed it to yet.
Yeah, it's not like in your face. Like, you have to like us. We're a super group. We're the best. Love us now. If they did the vocal harmonies in this album like they did in American Dream, I would never get into it. Because it's like,
there's the record.
I actually saw a record in the record store a few months ago, and I never bought it. And you know what? I regret not buying it because
yeah, it's a must buy.
You know what? I had the same experience. I was at a record store. It's not a full record store. It's a place that sells old books and movies and music. And I saw the Crosby, Stills, and Nash album there for $12, and I hadn't listened to it yet. So I thought maybe I'll buy it and listen to it on the record to kind of get the first time feel of listening to it on record. And I didn't. Instead, I went to my car and I bought the Zombies Odessey and Oracle record because I thought I'd rather spend my money on that. But
yeah, a record that you're familiar with.
It's still a record that I would like in my collection at some point. It's just not on like the top tier to get right now. Like I've put it in my watch list on Discogs, and like I've watched it on eBay.
Yeah. For me, it's a record that I'll get like once after I get like a lot of records that I want, or if I see it at the record store, instantly buying it, no questions asked.
There's definitely like a tier level of albums that I want. Like here's the top one I want, and then here's what I want after that, and then it's like near the bottom is like if I see it at the record store for a good price, I'll pick it up. And I feel like as of right now, it's one of those albums.
Yeah,
I'd say like Crosby, Stills, Nash. And then when Young joins, this is 1969, then Young joins like just the very next year, and they come out with Deja Vu. I don't know I forget if that's 70 or 71 that came out.
I'll look it up. I freaking love that album. 1970. Oh man, I love it. Every song on that album is so good.
I mean, they're two absolutely amazing albums back to back that they put together. Then I don't think they ever reached the heights again after Deja Vu, I would say, but their CSN album, I think, still is not a bad album. And then they have another one called like Daylight Again, I think, or something like that. That's actually another decent album. Then Crosby and Nash have done some like 3 albums or so together, just them two. And Whistling Down a Wire, I think, is one of them. It's a decent album. And then when I saw them in 2005, they were just put out an album called Crosby and Nash, and it's a really good album, just of Crosby and Nash. And so yeah, I mean, not only are they a great trio, then they add Young to it, and then they go off and do duos, and their duos are just absolutely amazing. So it's like there's just so many amazing albums that these 3 and 4, if you count Young, have collaborated on. It's just, to me, just amazing. I mean, individually, they're 4 amazing, like I said, singer songwriters, and you put them together, and it's like, putting the super group together. It's like, I'm trying to think, like, it's like adding Michael Jordan to a team with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird on it or something.
The
It's just
dream
like,
team.
yeah, it's like the dream. It's just like, wow. It's like, how can you get much better than those 4 together?
The Traveling Wilburys, maybe.
What's that?
The
Yeah,
Traveling Wilburys, maybe.
yeah, right. And Traveling Wilburys definitely is like the greatest combination of superstars, I would say. Except they didn't feel like they really were a group. They just kind of like did these as side projects. I don't know.
Yeah. Traveling Wilburys, it felt like they were just mashing great musicians just to mash great musicians. Like Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, they mashed really, really well.
Yeah.
That one album that they released, like, I didn't expect it to be way better than the first album with just CSN. And I'm like, no way Deja Vu is gonna outmatch the first CSM album. But then when I listened to it, it blew my mind. It was just that good. And they just had the one album after that, which was American Dream. I keep saying it, but that album is just the biggest disappointment ever. And there wasn't even gonna be an American Dream. The only reason why they did that was because Crosby really wanted another album with Neil Young, CSNY, and Neil Young was like, "Hey, if you get sober and you get better, I promise you we'll get that album going." And he got sober, and Neil Young just kind of had the let's just get this over with attitude to it. And you can definitely see it when you listen to the Neil Young stuff, which for me, the Deja Vu is like the best songs on that album, but in CSN wise, American Dream, it's like the worst songs on it, especially knowing the stuff that he would release after that album.
I always feel like Neil Young didn't contribute as much to the group. He just felt like he was just an extra that came on and then left. Because Young was famous for
Neil Young, you always tell his mind's always in a different space, no matter where he's at. He's always thinking about, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do next after this? Except he's always like thinking of what he's gonna do next. He's not really thinking what in the moment.
Yeah,
that's what I get from him.
And then Graham Nash too. After that album release, he ends up calling Back to the Hollies, and they end up releasing their reunion album, What Goes Around. And it's like, yeah, like Graham Nash is like, I'm not popular with the CSN anymore, CSMY. Let's see if I could go back to the Hollies and recreate my magic with them.
Yeah.
And that album's good, but it's no Butterfly, it's no Evolution, it's no For Certain Because, and it would have just been better if they didn't release it at all, honestly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for having this great discussion today. Really fun talking about this album. I know we got big things planned for some of our future videos. Next week, Bryer, Nick, and I are going to tackle Ogden's Nut Gone Flake by the Small Faces. Very weird, kind of out there 60s album. And then after that, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to talk with the guys after the video, kind of maybe plan out a few of our next videos. But let me just say that our next few videos are all going to be really good ones, so you're not going to want to miss out on those. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya, guys. Bye.